Welcome, Gracey. How you doing?
Amazing. I feel like I'm just in this little Zen retreat with you.
The Zen heaven.
I don't even realize it's 90 degrees outside. It's
Don't
totally
say
fine. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the weather. It's fine.
It's going to be fall soon, hopefully.
It will be. And then it's like basic time. Or is it already? I don't know.
Well, I always feel like, okay, you tell me what you think, but I feel like fall starts when football starts. What do you think?
I agree, because I'm like, I'm not going to wait for the leaves change to
No.
like make me get excited about fall, because summer is great and everything, but it's a little bit much.
Summer, I'm a summer girl, so summer's like my season. What about you?
I think fall has to be my season, or winter. I'm just like very much, I think like while we're in the salon here, I love being cold. Like I would rather be cold, and I feel like I'd be much better as a northerner, but I feel like you are a northerner, right?
I'm a northerner. I was going to say you should swap with me. I'm from Wisconsin, and I would rather be hot.
I feel that.
I would rather it be 85 with a slight breeze and sunny. That's like my ideal temperature.
Yeah, because we were able to sit outside in the direct sunlight, and neither one of us were like too bothered by it.
Yeah.
But I feel like you were just in your element.
Yeah, I was. I will say that the older I get, the more I appreciate fall, and like I appreciate sweater weather. I love football. I love like chili. Vegetarian chili, of course.
Yes.
But I love everything that goes along with fall. So the older I get, the more I appreciate it and really look forward to it.
And football season here is kind of like the greatest thing on earth. Yes. So now it is.
It's the same thing in Wisconsin. Like people really look forward to the Packers and the changing colors. And up there, the colors are starting to change. They're like ahead of you guys probably by, I would say 2 weeks to a month. And I would say in the wintertime, Wisconsin is typically 10 to 15 degrees colder.
Okay.
Than what we are here in Kansas City.
Yeah, and that's not too terrible.
No.
But being born and raised here, I spent a couple of summers in Scottsdale, couple summers in California, but I used to spend summers up in Alaska, and I loved it up there. It was the greatest, and I just feel like that wild pioneer life is calling. I don't look like a wild pioneer. I look a little bit too high maintenance to be a pioneer woman right now, but I will tell you that's the dream. Like I just want to be able to like have my like long hippie hair as I'm older and just be up with the bears and like all the like crazy stuff in Alaska. I just feel like that's where I belong.
Oh my gosh, I never would have guessed that for you. I never would have guessed that for you.
I love that. No, a lot of people think that I'm just like so into being out and about. It's like that was my life for a long time, was not being a socialite, but being everywhere all the time because of sports. And I know that you understand that, not only with your career, but your husband's career as well. So it's like knowing that I can have a time to relax and retreat. That's what I love about winter. But like lately, I think it's just been the time at home has been so much more fun, because during COVID, I just kind of worked on my house area and like setting everything up. Everything I need is at home.
Yes.
So except a pool, I'm not like living like that yet.
Yeah.
But it's like those moments where I'm just like, you know what? I have everything here that I need. I can work from home and do all that. And that was kind of the nice blessing of all of the craziness.
Yeah. That's awesome that you can even like look at that and look back and see the blessings in it. I feel like I'm getting that way with COVID too, that I'm removed enough. And granted, I don't want to say removed because there's still a mask mandate in KCMO. COVID is still alive and well in a lot of places, but we're removed enough from like the 2 weeks to flatten the curve like drama of it all that I can see the good things that came out of it. And I'm thankful for certain parts of it. Certain parts of it were really hard.
Yeah.
But I can look back kind of like you said and realize that I got by with a lot less. And that's the beauty.
It is, and that kind of maintenance is fun every once in a while, and like having that high maintenance kind of lifestyle. I get it, I do it, but I like to not inconvenience people with my high maintenance life. So when COVID hit, it was right around March when I was with a group of people that I'm no longer partnered with, but they were all kind of the like-minded, let's do a network, let's do something big, let's do something together. And I was really excited, and I saw it as we just got the entire playing field completely leveled.
Yeah.
Good Morning America's on Skype. They're using Zoom now. I didn't even know what Zoom was before COVID hit. So I'm like, oh, there's a better option. Cool, let's do it. So when I said, guys, this is go time. We can record. Everyone's at home. They're not doing anything. All eyes on content. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I was met with, oh my God, no way. And I'm like, this isn't for me. So I, in the middle of the night, stayed up till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, getting all my domains registered, getting everything. I like picked the name out. It was my stepdad that like literally looked at me and was like, are you going to keep doing this? Keep like selling yourself short for people who don't believe in what you believe in? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And it's like those moments of inspiration where I was like, all right, Kansas City Podcast Network. And then I realized going through the first year of business that we're so much more than podcasts, and adding video to things and the storytelling aspect. People have so many stories to tell.
And it's what connects people and what brings them empathy and what makes understanding and what makes you feel a little less alone.
A little bit less alone, yeah. And if you can relate to somebody doing some dumb shit on reality TV, because I totally can, that's one thing. When you're listening to somebody who has a unique story behind the scenes, like the weirdest thing happened, it was like November 2019, and it inspired me to like tweet out that day, I'm going to make a media platform so full of creators and creative life and vision that Kansas City has never seen before, and I'll be bringing it to you spring 2020. And I like had it in my back of my head, but this person that inspired it was my pest control guy. And I haven't told this story really at all, besides to people that I know, and I'm sure they're tired of hearing it, so you're welcome.
I'm not.
Good. Carrie cares about everything I have to say. Screw you guys. This guy just came over, and brand new. My mom found him on Google, because God forbid I make my own appointments for my own house still. Like, I'm 33, but am I really an adult? There's so many levels to like how he showed up that was just so like fate level. But he's like, you look really familiar, or you sound familiar. And I'm like, oh, I used to do sports radio, 810, and ESPN Kansas City. And he's like, that has to be it. Do you know Steven St. John? I'm like, yeah, that's my old mentor. And I was lucky enough to have him kind of show me the ropes of what sports radio in Kansas City is all about. And he was in the heydays of the 90s with like Neil Smith and Derek Thomas and all like the craziness of it all. And he remembers so many obscure like Kansas City things that I grew and met so many people because of him. And his dad too, Steven St. John Sr., and he's very Italian, and they're both very like proud of their Italian background. And so this guy's like, yeah, my dad used to be a jazz pianist or jazz something for the old like riverboats. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and then I died once. And I'm like, wait, what? And it was the weird, and he was like the first person in Grandview to ever have the jaws of life get him out of a car wreck. It was the craziest thing. He's like, and I remember it all. So there's just like this middle-aged man that walks in and just starts talking to me. He's like, you sound familiar. And then talking to me about how he died once and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, these are stories living within the Kansas City walls that are true, that, you know, people might not be able to tell them as easily as somebody like with us, like with a microphone and a camera. And so my original thought was, I want to go around and talk to older people that are getting up in their years, that want to create memories and create their story to pass on generation to generation. Was the horse girl in school, and like the weird one that like just like played lacrosse and like didn't do anything close to home. Like I was always gone. So I made some friends in school, but a lot of the friends I made were like so much older than me, because they were showing horses and doing stuff. And I'm like, wait, so I can just tag along and like clean out stalls and go places. And that was more interesting to me. And then I got into lacrosse, and that was amazing. Went to boarding school and played lacrosse there. And that was just crazy to go to like have your freedom, like freshman, sophomore year, and then junior year you go off and live on your own in a dorm. It was a crazy experience, but I met so many great people, and it was just a wild time. But like I realized sports are kind of cool and everything, but I'm not maybe that great at them as I thought I was. But I was, and my dad used to stutter, so I was just kind of thought that everyone kind of like taught, you know, in an obscure, unique way, and turns out they don't. But with a lot of speech therapy and lifesavers, then I could finally talk again. And once I realized that my power of my voice and my opinions as a woman, people stop to listen. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people talk about, how women aren't heard enough. But it's like when I would chime in about sports, people would stop what they're doing and like, wait, how do you even know that? Like, how did you come across that? And it's from growing up with my dad as a rugby player and hanging out with all the guys and all of his guy friends. I had like 900 uncles. And all of that just kind of reminded me that it all starts with community. And then we'd start going to the Chiefs games and the Royals games, of course. Like field trips growing up, that'd be like $5 to go to the Royals game or $15 to go to the zoo. So the school's like, let's go watch some depressing baseball, and then you guys can maybe like realize they're never going to be good in your lifetime. Because like For 30 years, nothing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a long run.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to throw the Raiders under the bus, but I feel like they're next. But anyways, no, but sports is just so easy and natural to talk about because everyone's paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about the news.
Yeah.
Because, like, that divides people. Yeah, it is depressing. And it's like, Kansas City sports wasn't that less depressing, but I mean, we at least had something exciting to look forward to, and it really bonded people. And the moment I saw that, I was like, I think that this could be something I'm interested in. I went to school at K-State for marketing after I'd already had an equine science degree from Colorado State because I'm like, why not? I don't work with horses anymore, clearly, but it was fun. But then at that point, I started meeting a lot of people in sports, started meeting a lot of the people that are day-to-day business side of sports. And I just kind of like made great connections with them and stayed in touch over the years. And after I left K-State, I had 2 kids and I was like, how am I going to work from home? How am I going to provide all this stuff? I'm a single mom. Like, what am I going to even do? And a good friend wanted to start a podcast talking about sports. We called it Sprott States with Hotties as a play on words of just like, women don't know what they're talking about. So let's just call it Sprott States with Hotties. We dropped it down to Sprott Steaks. And then that became Kansas like first all-female sports talk show. And then I became the first female sports radio host in Kansas City history. And I was like, it took till 2017 to do that. Like, I know there have been guest hosts and I know that there have been people on that were part of the shows, but to actually have your own show, we made history with that. And it was incredible to do that. And I had a bunch of great women working with me as a team. And then I just started to kind of really see the benefits of like focusing on myself, my work, my voice. And it really hit me that that's what Kansas City's missing is a lot of authentic voices that are free to say what they want to say. Not saying that like you can't express yourself on traditional media. It's just a little bit more difficult when you have people trying to control narratives. So I think that's where the idea of like, all right, what if I got like a Sprott Steaks show, but in every kind of category, like movies, lifestyle, entertainment. We were just talking about the Met Gala. Like, I'm sure that we could get you talking for a couple hours on the beauty and
God,
like
more than a couple hours. I could talk at length about the Met Gala.
But that's the beauty of passionate people. There's no shortage of content. There's no shortage of information they have to share. I will listen to somebody talk about scaffolding if they're passionate about it.
Same.
That's just the beauty of podcasts too. And it's like if somebody really loves something, they're going to find a way to do it. And the people that we've started with KCPN, they're all self-starters. They're people that have created content through a time that was kind of like insurmountable to create content through. And you just find the people that are resilient and focused and driven enough, because the only thing I can preach is consistency, because I'm still like not that consistent. And it's something that I work on every day, but getting in a routine, being more accountable for your actions, realizing that as a creator, you also have to take care of you, which I know that you and I have talked about a lot. Self-care is not just like a hashtag on Instagram. Like,
or
it's
just like a bubble
thing.
bath once a month. Whenever
right? Yeah, it's not selfish either. And if you guys don't know that we're already in the zone cryo clinic and at health upgrades, Joni has been incredible. I started coming here a few weeks ago and I have never felt better. And it's like, it's not selfish to take care of you. And you can't take care of other people when you're like operating from zero. So some people can, and they might take energy drinks and power through it, but we all know that you're running on empty.
It's so funny you say this, because remember a couple months ago, was it in August, I reached out to you and we just got lunch.
Yeah.
And I remember I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I want to have you on my podcast, but like, let's just get lunch and like chat, because we hadn't chatted in a while. And you were like, yeah, let's get lunch. You were like, to be honest with you, I'm taking this entire month off of work. So, and you were just like, yeah, I'm just taking the month off of work and we're going to get back in it like when this month is over. And I was like, yes, girl.
It's so nice to be able to do that. But like, don't think that I'm just like rolling around and like pounds of money and I'm just like, I don't have to work. I have created a persona online to where it looks like everything I do is easy.
Yeah.
Because that's what we kind of sell the whole dream on in media, is we try to make it look easy. And if we look like we're struggling, then we're probably really struggling. And when I'm at home in the summers with my kids, I do not do anything really besides be at home with them, and they might drive me crazy. And that's the beauty of parenting, is relishing in those moments and try to do as much as you can. But being more present every single day is all I can really try to do.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that time to do it, oh my gosh.
Or to recharge. Like, and then we ended up going to lunch and you told me more. You're just like, look, I'm taking some time off now, but you were like, next month, like it's balls to the walls. And you had all these things. You were like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. But I still got 2 more weeks of doing nothing. And I was like, yes, girl. Like so definitely like, it's not one of those things where like you just do nothing all the time, but you were like very set and very honest with me about like, yeah, I'm not doing much for a couple weeks. So like, let's do the podcast later. And
I'm always down for lunch. Like you can always reel me in for something with lunch. Like I'm historically known for causing people to like rack up a ridiculous tab at lunch. And it's like, my guy friends are like, it's going to be another $100 lunch. And I'm like, thank you for understanding.
Yes.
But I think it's really important to be honest with where you are, because I've had people that from 2014 when I got into everything until about 2018, I ran myself into the ground.
Yeah.
I said yes to every opportunity. I was everywhere that I possibly could be. I ended up having some sort of basically revelation that you don't have to be everywhere all the time. And I'm like, what is this? And then I prioritized other people's careers for a lot of it too. I was an agent, a marketing agent for NFL players and with local talent and national talent. And I was putting other people's like talents ahead of mine. Yeah. And I'm like, just like you said earlier, it was funny because like me getting reminded every once in a while, you are the face of this company. Yeah. And I've always tried to make it less about me because I thought that I was like too much. And then I realized that some people just aren't really meant to absorb you and your content, your energy, whatever it is. And that's okay. And when people call me out, they're like, we don't even know who you are in the Kansas City sports scene. I'm like, I don't really need you to. Yeah. So it's okay. Like, I want people to be known for what they're passionate about. And I care about the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs. I love K-State and I love football. I just think that my interests right now are on building so much other things that I have to be more malleable. And if I'm like rigidly looking at schedules of games and like, I have to be here at a certain time and sit in a certain seat, like that's not the life I want to live anymore. And so being able to take time off and just kind of relax and do my own thing, it really like renews my energy too, because September I'm back at it. Like I'm like, no one can slow me down. I'm like, anything you guys want to do, let's do it. But I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur as well. And we know the pitfalls because everyone talks about those, but the ability to have a great team in place that can help run everything. And we never slowed down. That's the greatest part, is that everything else ran in the background. And to have people that have all reached out to me in one way or another to contact me to be a part of this whole venture. My CEO is somebody that I met through a failed attempt at dating, because this guy was part of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they went around and had mentor-mentee programs for a long time. I think they still do. Yeah. And that was his mentee. And he and I ended up going into business together because we started working on a bunch of inventions. So I ended up being on the board of an invention because of a failed dating experience. And we just both realized that we could be really great friends and successful together. And so every person I meet seems like an opportunity to like learn something from or listen to. And so it's like, I just kind of try to see what's going on. And some people are a lot, and some people don't realize that like there's a time and place for certain things, but I've learned that too. And I would never really turn any of the negative experience that I've had being an internet person or being in the media spotlight. I would never say that, I wouldn't want to live through that. Yeah. I think that it's important to go through the ups and downs and the highs and lows, because I've been through a lot of them. And really learn a lesson, because you grow up on the internet, so many people got in trouble for saying things, and people dig up so much history, and I'm like, well, my tweets got all deleted, so I'm fine. But I mean, it goes down to like even the stuff I see on Facebook memories. I'm like, why was I sharing that? So it's like reevaluating your circle, getting the right structure in place. That's how you're able to do all those things.
Yeah. What do you think about, and I would love to hear your perspective on this, because being a female in sports is interesting. And I started in sports. I'm still kind of in sports with the hosting work I do with the Monarchs. But when I first started out, I was literally a sports reporter on the sidelines doing things like that. And you're the minority 100%. And I felt like I had to always be on my game with everything I was doing. My points had to be extra crisp, because I wasn't just a sports reporter. I was a female sports reporter. And, I wanted to do my best for the other female sports reporters that were next to me and who were going to come behind me, and just set the tone that like females no sports. There was one time I remember I was doing play-by-play. It was for like a high school thing or whatever, high school football. And I had someone come up in the booth and he was listening to the broadcast, but he was like, I just had to come up here and I just want to let you know a lot about football for a girl. And I was like, oh, thank you. But I just know a lot about football. And, I like omitted the for a girl part. Like, and he was just trying to be nice. He was meant it as a compliment, but that's what he said. Like, for a girl, you know a lot about football. And I was like, no, I just know a lot about football. And so what has been your experience with that?
It's been wild because I think growing up in a rugby household, I never really shied away from sharing my opinion. We're all very vocal family. When we fight, it's kind of like World War III, but like we are literally over it in 2 seconds. And so I don't really understand what it would be like to shy away from sharing an opinion. I've gotten in trouble for that, for sure. I remember being play-by-play for high school football. It was Drew Lock, and he fumbled the snap, and I was like, oh, there goes Drew, pop lock and drop it. And forever, people were just like, I can't believe you said that. And it's just like, I laughed.
Yeah.
Like, I had a great time.
Yeah.
So, there's moments of that, but like when people shun you for your knowledge because of your gender, it's just a little bit ridiculous. I remember the tweet that said, oh, you're a sports fan, and it's like a conversation of a guy to a girl, then tell me what the offensive coordinator's blood type is for Seattle. And I'm just like, whatever that tweet was, I'm like, I experienced that a lot. And 2017 was the end of my sports radio, local on-air terrestrial radio career. And it was okay with me because it was right around the time that everyone was like up in arms about kneeling or standing for the anthem. And I would go places and people just wanted to berate me with their opinions. And like, it turned into like really racist shit that people were saying. And I'm like, so you're letting something that you feel so strongly about cloud your judgment of all people. And I just started noticing this like anger and hatred through sports and people just having to make sports so political and so charged. And I'm like, this stopped being an escape for me and started being like something I dreaded talking about. And being constantly in the know about stuff. I mean, it's a lot. And so I always admired women that were like, I'm going to stick with the sports media route and I'm going to do that because it's not easy.
No, you're the minority all the time.
All the time. I have a really good friend of mine that's now with Barstool Sports, Kelly in Vegas. And she has been through almost every outlet, including ESPN's last one. They fired her after they hired her because of mean tweets or tweets that she had said some slurs in. And you know what? It's not great to do that stuff. And I think we all have learned over the last 20 years what it's like to have all your words come back to you or to realize that something that you said a long time ago isn't cool anymore. And you don't do that anymore. And there's always learning moments. I think women have to stay on guard a lot more, like you said, and really know what they're talking about inside and out. And it's exhausting because you're also defensive about it. And so having to be defensive in your workplace already, or think that because of you might not knowing something or you not having played the sport, because I don't know a lot of women that have played football, but the ones that have are incredible too. Having that kind of insight of what you're talking about isn't always something that's possible for journalists and reporters that are out there trying to cover football. And I think that it's so cool to watch the evolution of women taking over the sidelines. Jessica Kleinschmidt's a good friend of mine that came in town not that long ago, and she works for the Oakland A's, and she's incredible. And it's like, you see her evolution going through like dealing with the trolls. And then there's Melanie Newman, who's out on the Orioles team, and she's part of the all women's broadcast team. And that's incredible. And it's also just like, why haven't we already been seeing this? So there's so many arguments of how great and like forward moving it is. And it's just like any other thing is like, why has it been so difficult to get to this point where we can all admit that, hey, people of any gender and any walk of life can know a lot about something, like you can study something and be really well versed in it. And if you're passionate enough, you can get to that point. And it's like, it's a lot of uphill battles, but I think that it's really getting a lot easier for women and young girls that want to be more involved with sports to be involved. And we're seeing referees, we're seeing GMs, we're seeing front of office and coaches. And that's incredible to me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think we're getting there. You got to keep pushing and keep advocating for those women and keep giving them the opportunities, keep seeing them, keep calling them out, keep being fair to them. I think sometimes women are unfairly judged, in this career, not even in sports, but the Good Morning America women, like the Today Show women, like we hold women to such a high standard in this country. It's our culture, and part of it is like, it's like, we expect so much of them. That's great. Women are incredible people, but it's also one of those things where we have to see their humanness and we have to acknowledge their humanness. And we are more apt to give a man can say something and he's being assertive and the boss. A woman says the same thing and she's being bitchy and hormonal. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
And I know you've probably faced some of that in your entrepreneurial career because you are the lady in charge. Like, and so are there times when, as you said, you like have opinions in a business setting or whatever it is, and people are just like, "Oh, calm down, little girl," and you're just like, excuse me? Like,
oh yeah, like a lot of dudes have mommy issues, and that's not my problem. Like I might be someone that knows what they're talking about and can help guide it. I've had so many people that have been like, I want to do what you do, and they think they can do it better. I'm like, you're welcome to try. That's fine. There's people that imitate me all the time. They take the name of my network and just change one little letter, and all of a sudden, hey, it's theirs and it's brilliant. And it's an original thought. But I've been doing this for a year longer, and somehow I didn't get the same accolades and I didn't get the same like support, and that's okay because I know whatever they're doing and whatever they're trying to do, they're not going to be able to be me with my vision and my ideas and my team.
Yep.
And so I think it's so important to have those people that allow me to be as outspoken as possible because working with guys that have a really strong time with like ego boundaries and like healthy ego versus what they really should be focusing on, which is getting better, focusing on themselves and not worrying about what everyone else is doing. I'd faced that my whole career, and knowing that there's people out there that really just don't like me, that's okay too, because I got nothing but love for them because they still click on things just to hate watch. And it's like those little things, whether it's male, female, whatever, they're always going to be there. And those people are always going to be trying to duplicate something that they don't really know what they're even trying to do. Yeah. And so the sustainability of people with negative attitudes and people with a lot to say about everyone else is very short. And a lot of people don't really understand that it's okay to have different ideas and think outside the box, and limitations that others put on you are not yours.
They're projections.
Absolutely. You get it.
Yeah.
You understand that when people, I've had people be like, I don't know how you do this and I don't know how you do this. And I'm like, just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't. So you might be able to do something. I can't run marathons. I look at people that do that. I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I run a mile and I'm like, I think we're done for this whole thing. I'm like, elliptical all day, stairs all day. I'm not running. I want to be a runner, but that's just not happening. Yeah. And those people seem crazy to me. And I'm like, how do you do that every morning? But they have a different kind of thing fueling them, and that's okay. To have hate in your heart for people that are trying to make it in the business, or to look at them as competitors and like completely and totally shell up and be like, well, why don't I have that? Like, why do they have something that I don't have? You have to create your own opportunities. And I know that you didn't get to where you are just because you stayed quiet and didn't take risks. So there's levels to all of it. And I think letting women take the risk, be more comfortable in their own skin, and not think that everybody has to look a certain way and act a certain way. Like, I have friends of all walks of life, and if you lined us up together for a girls trip, it would be such an array of people and backgrounds and things to say. And it's like, I don't want to be around a bunch of people that are just like me. I want to be around people with different stories. So I'm here for all the naysaying. I'm here for all the imitations. I'm here for everything that people want to try to do, because at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself to know that that product's going to be better.
Yeah. Totally. 100%. What has been one of your favorite things that KCPN has done, in the time that it's been around and what you guys have been able to produce? I know you have big dreams for it, but thus far, what has been something that you've been like the most proud of? Yeah,
the big dreams are what keeps me up at night. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to get this vision down, or I'll start calling people like, I got to tell someone this. Luckily, I have people that are just like around the clock, just absorbing all that. So I don't have to stress about it. But I think what we've done so far with having such a wide amount of conversations on the network, we've had live events, we've done wrestling shows, we've talked about men's mental health. People have like broken down and cried. I cried on my first season of my podcast, Gat Chats, because I showed raw emotion. I'm like, what is this? This is so strange. Our first episode, we had Mayor Quentin Lucas on talking about the COVID updates and like what it's like being his first year at mayor office. Recently, we just did our first Chief season preview with my old college friend, Duncan, who I've known since, 2008, I think. And he's always been like a part of like, I really want to get into journalism, really want to get into broadcasting. So if you would have told us in 2008 when we were playing beer pong at a house party together, and I'm like talking all this shit to everyone, like I used to love talking shit to Dallas Cowboys fans, and that's how I got in the most trouble, because I'm like, do you even know any more than just like the quarterback on the team? Like, can you name a couple players? I was rude and that person to Dallas Cowboys fans, so I apologize about that, but not really. And so we're sitting there doing a Chiefs season preview with former NFL defensive end Sean Smith, and he's telling telling us all this, like all the tea that you could possibly imagine about his time in the NFL. And it took like a day and a half for that to absorb with Duncan and I, to be like, we literally did something that we had been talking about for over 10 years together to start off a season. And it's like, we're only like, what, a year and a half into this company being a thing. And I feel like between the charity things that we did for the NFL draft with the Tailgate podcast, between the live stream that we had during COVID, it was like, I think April 19, I can't remember the exact date, but it was the 2020 draft, and no restaurants were open. It looks like that scene in Drake's video for Tootsie Slide where it's just like Toronto, but just the streets are empty. And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing in the world, because it was like a ghost town. I've never seen Kansas City like this. And single-handedly, I set up 2 microphone setup with another soundboard with 3 cameras and a live stream that went 5 hours on the first week that we were even a network.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I did this all myself, and that no one was working with me then. And I'm like, that was a small personal accomplishment for me to be like, yeah, with anything, it's going to be trial and error. But we did it again this year. Professional setup. We had our own room back in Taps on Main. And that studio has been incredible because we filmed so many like startup things there. We're always going to have a piece of Kansas City history as long as that building, which obviously Bazookas is going to stay around forever. So Taps will be there forever too. With that building, we can go in there and be like, this is where it all started.
Yeah.
And that is just such a great feeling to have. We've had a lot of firsts on our network, and we've done a lot of like random things that I don't even know if I remember like the weekly recaps. I think I would black out and like do them and like listen to all these podcasts, but I was in such a zone for so long and I didn't take time off. And so that's why this time around this summer, I was like, I can take time off. I can make every practice. I can go to every game. I can do everything that we need to do because I'm just at home hanging out. But like those sacrifices that I made really kind of changed the network for the better, because every single person, like I was saying earlier, came to me like, I want to work for you. And so our CEO, Louis, was like, I want to run this company. I'm going to do that for you. And then Kingston, he started off being a talent director of some sort, and now he's our COO, and he's out there making everything happen every day for us, working with all the people. Joe started as an old client of mine, and now he's the president of our company via satellite because he's in Alabama. So all these people reached out. Our producer, Zach, emailed me. He's like, I don't know what you're up to, but I really like where you're starting with this. One of my old, not rivals, but one of my old peers, Kevin Keatsman, who's a very controversial figure here in Kansas City, he emailed me one day and was like, can you help me editing audio? And I thought it was a joke. So I tweeted, I'm like, this morning I got a really funny email. And then I started getting like calls from people like, no, I'm pretty sure that's him. And I was like, wait, what? And so the guy's like, I'll call you if you don't believe it. And so Kevin Keatsman called me and he's like, I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. Why you think this is a joke? And I'm like, what the hell? I've talked so much crap on you. Like, why are you coming? Like, and you know, those moments where people started coming to me for things, and I'm like, maybe I do know what I'm doing. And so there's like the small milestones and the personal milestones, but I've had 2 people move to Kansas City over the last 6 months for working with this network, and they're putting everything behind it that they have. And it's just a vision that started one night when I couldn't sleep because I was so agitated by where I was in life. And it's like having that all come to fruition has kind of been the most amazing part.
Oh, that sounds so incredible. I get chills just like listening to that.
It's amazing.
What is your big goal for you personally, your career, but then for KCPN? Like those 2 things, maybe it goes hand in hand, but maybe it's different. I mean, maybe yours, KCPN, is just a small part of it, or maybe it's the big part of it. But what's the final vision?
I think having the ability to tell people's stories at the drop of a finger, whether it's having a full force studio, having a platform, having a network that includes all of Kansas City, there's something for everyone. And having that the most authentic way possible, which I still believe is having FCC-free creative abilities. I think that's the end goal, is being able to give a voice to every person that wants to have one. There's no limitations on creativity. There's no hindrance on creativity. There's no, class difference. You know, when you're creating and you might not have resources, we want to be able to provide that and give a community to the artists that, I mean, I don't want to say that we're coming into a renaissance of things, but, you know, we're all down bad in 2020. There's no going around it. A lot of bad shit happened over the last couple of years. And to see people kind of reemerge with any sort of confidence is a great thing. Promoting people that create when they've really been historically in a scarce mentality, artists have always kind of struggled with being able to put a price on their services or trying to find a value for themselves. And I want to bring that business mind that I have that I can never turn off, and also bring that creative kind of think tank energy and merge the two together. And that's what I think KCPN is becoming. We're finding more and more parts that are all working together, and the amount of time and energy I spend thinking about something like this flies by, and that's always a great sign. So when I'm working on big projects, I'm like, that was really easy and I can just do this now. I want everyone to feel that, because I think that there's people out there that have such incredible, unique lives. Like I was talking to some stranger, but they happened to used to be a bellhop at a hotel. They're telling me about how they knew everything about everyone, the ins and outs of everything. And people that were in the marketing and business world, especially sales, would tell them, hey, if a client's down here and in the bar, you call me immediately. And those type of things are what I think business people forget, is that business is all about connection. And if you don't have the connections to things, how are you going to make anything happen? And so being the resource, the nonprofit that we're working on, all of that just goes back to feeding into the artists that are creating the art. I think a lot of times you think by just purchasing the art, that's really helping them out. But there's so many resources and ways that you can help people find housing. You can help them find resources, daycare options. You know, if we can help build something that's like an all-inclusive ecosystem for people that are creative and have never really found a space anywhere else. Because I don't know many offices that are just like conducive to creating in weird schedules. I mean, artists are the most like ridiculous. Like I don't deal with a lot of the artists, which is why we have people that deal with talent development and everything, because they're so sporadic. And I'm just like, why are you like this? And I'm like, oh wait, I'm like this too. So I kind of forget. It's like two artists talking together is like, oh God, this is going to be a long drawn out disaster. But people that can bring in what the artist may be lacking in infrastructure for their business or whatever they're doing, and have that brought to life and take people's brains and like build them out for them. There are so many brilliant people in this world with brilliant ideas, and they just don't have the resources. And that's what I think we're all about, is getting to the point where we can provide that for a community. And, you know, who knows where it's going to take off from there. It's like, why not have these everywhere so people all over the place can create?
Sky is the limit.
Absolutely.
Where can people find KCPN, Facebook page, or wherever else they can find it?
In Facebook, it's Kansas City Public Network. YouTube, Kansas City Public Network. Twitter, KCP Network. Instagram, KC Public Network.
Okay, and
that's a lot, but
yes,
we'll put infographics up because we can do that.
Yes, we'll put it in the show notes for sure, so everyone can find it. Tell everyone your Twitter. She is hilarious on Twitter, you guys. She tweets the shit that like I'm thinking, but I don't think to tweet it. You tweet it and I read it and I'm just like, I laugh out loud at your tweets.
I'm so glad you do, because like the people in real life that know me, that follow me on Twitter, it's KCGat, and then Instagram it's KC.gat, but I don't know what I'm doing there. We just had this discussion. So I'm going to try to take more of Carrie's advice and actually like focus on just being myself and showing what I'm doing. But Twitter has just been like a playground. That's where so many people in real life are like, are you really like that? I'm like, yes, unfortunately this is I don't have to exaggerate much, and when I do, it's usually fairly in the lines. So it's been a wild time on there, but that's how I got here. So
there you go. You can't bite the hand that fed you, right?
Absolutely not.
You just got to go with it. Thanks so much for joining us here today. It's been so awesome to chat with you. It's been so relaxing and zen.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to try the cryo machine.
Oh my gosh, so I'm kind of scared.
We'll get some footage of that too.
Oh my gosh.
Just blend it in. No big deal. No pressure.
Oh my gosh. Thanks, Gracey.
Thank you.